Hi, welcome. Welcome to this week's Cool Chief episode. Today, we are going to be talking about midlife dating. Whether we should, whether we shouldn't, what should we look for, what are the concerns? It is a far more complicated scenario than when we were younger. And we have different opportunities for us now because we're not necessarily looking for Mr. Right or Mr. Forever or someone to be the father of our children. And so it's a completely different territory. And we have Gail Forrest today with us to help us further this conversation. Welcome, Gail. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Gail is an author and a humorist. And most recently, you can read her in the New York Times. She was just published in the New York Times. And she has a book, which also she has authored. Gail, you want to show us the cover of your book?
Look, can you see it?
I can. You want to tell us what it's to? You haven't gone crazy. You've gone Basel. Okay. And so,
do you want me to tell you a little bit of what it's about?
About the book?
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about the book, but I want to get into midlife dating. So
I'll just tell you 2 minutes. It's really basically about midlife, like that. It's like midlife is a turning point, I feel, for women on so many subjects and in so many areas. And one of them, of which I am an expert just by exposure, is midlife dating. And in the book, there's a lot about my dates and what it's like and sort of I don't know if it's a nightmare, but it's a seascape. It's a different change. It's a sea change. So yeah. I feel like I've dated so much in midlife that I have a PhD in online dating. If they gave like awards, I would get like a longevity award.
Right. The most time dating award or something like that.
The most time spent dating online or trying desperately. So it's a sticky wicket.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. So before we get into that conversation, if you haven't seen one of these episodes before and you don't know who I am, I'm Jack Perez and I'm the CEO and founder of Kuel. Kuel is an online platform and a curated shopping experience for us women in midlife, women basically 45 plus. And Kuel is spelled with a K. I know I've made it complicated. It's Kuellife. All of the articles in the post are relevant to us ladies in midlife, whether it is about midlife dating or menopause or fitness. So if you haven't had a chance, I urge you to go out there. It's an ad-free environment, so all of the copy is there for you to peruse and learn and share with other women. So I highly recommend that you go out there because it is directly relevant to us. So Gail, you are an author. You have been clearly dating in midlife for quite some time. Can you start digging the dirt, sharing the dirt on dating? What is it? What's going on? Why? What are you doing?
Why are we alone at 50 and 60? Well, I was married twice, so it's not like I've spent my entire life, man-free, and now I'm starting over. But it's a different landscape. I mean, I must say, if I thought I could get my friends to fix me up, I mean, you should start that way. That's what I recommend to all women. If you have friends that can fix you up, start that way, because those people are vetted and, they have something in common with your friends. It's important. What's difficult about online dating is that no one's vetted and everyone's making stuff up about themselves, but I'll get to that. But if you can start with your friends. I mean, I tried that. I was like bribing my friends. But my friends are not easily bribed because they don't need what I was offering. I mean, I had this funny thing. I'll give you $3,000. You can go to Paris, whatever you want to do at some level. And even though 50% of the population is divorced, not one of my friends knows any of that 50%, which I always find extraordinary. But if you have friends who know any of that 50%, and can sort of, tell you about that person. They'll know if you have anything in common. They know they know what you do. They know your activities. That is the way to start.
So when I was younger, a great place to meet men were weddings, right? For the same reason. If you went to a friend's wedding, the single men there were kind of vetted because they were invited to this event that was very costly. So you weren't going to invite people you didn't like, and you weren't going to invite people that were close to you. It's almost like people should have divorce parties now.
No, they should have funerals. I mean, here's where one of my male friends actually met his live-in girlfriend at a funeral. I mean, I think
that's terrifying.
I know, but actually it happened to another one of my girlfriends, because our mutual friend's mother died. And so now the husband, who's been married forever, and he's going to spend 3 days single, 3 or 4, after everyone bombards him with, casseroles and, the sort of archetypal pie.
Right.
But, so we're at the funeral. I remember it was like yesterday. And I was sitting next to her, and she leaned into me and she went, "Just think, I could marry Susan's father." And guess what? She did.
No.
Yes, because it was only a matter of time until Susan's father had to go to a country club event, had no one to take. So our mutual friend fixed my friend up with her father. And that was it. He was alone for 1 month and couldn't bear being alone anymore.
I see a lot of that, though. I see that a lot of men that get divorced, and I'm making this up because I don't know if this is statistically significant, but it feels to me that men seem to remarry faster than women.
Well, I think widowers do.
Well, that's okay. Yeah.
That once these men have learned that they can be alone, that it's okay, that they can take care of themselves, it's a short window of time. Because after like 6 months, a year, they're fine. And they realize their women landscape is just gigantic. It's like Montana. It's just this vast area of land. So you have to, this is, this is creepy to say, but you have to get those widowers really fast.
So hanging out at funerals. So if your friends can't set you up, maybe you should be checking the obituaries.
No, you can't do that.
Crashing funerals.
Right. Well, that was the Wedding Crashers. Remember at the end? Did you ever see that movie? At the end, they were crashing funerals, but to meet women. Well, that's just kind of a funny aside, but I think it's more. The older you get, obviously there's gonna be more truth to that funny aside. More reality to it. Yep. So that is one way, a funny way or a terrible way. And I still say start with your friends. Start with any of your friends. Like I was always a bar loser, so I don't see bars as any sort of panacea for me. I would walk in, you're not blonde either. I don't know if you've noticed this, but unless you're blonde, no one talks to you in a bar. Seriously.
I don't get to bars very often, and when I do, I'm usually with a girlfriend, and we're yipping and yapping so much that I think that there's probably proverbial police tape around us. No one's going in there. No one's going in that sphere, right?
Well, so bars are kind of, I think, we outgrew bars a little bit as a way to meet anyone. Younger, everyone went, and now still young people are going, and you walk in the oldest woman in the room or the oldest person in the room.
Right.
I wouldn't suggest bars. So then after, no one would fix me up, and no one talks to you on the street anymore, because face it, we're all looking at our cell phones 99% of the time.
Right.
I had both husbands, one in Central Park and one in the Museum of Modern Art, because we weren't staring at our phones. You got to put the phone down, to ever talk to anyone in the grocery store, in the vegetable area. But I'm not sure. I think that, we're addicted to the phone. So the next idea that I pursued was internet dating.
Okay.
And that's an entire world. I think it's a universe, the universe of internet, or the matrix, perhaps, of the rabbit hole. It's you got to go there.
So I got to ask you, what's been your worst experience in online dating? Your the worst nightmare about online dating?
Well, this is not that this is mean-spirited, but people are not transparent. Men are not transparent. They lie. They fudge numbers. Now men are lying about their age, which, kind of historically women kind of fudge the numbers with their age. I went out with a man, this is not the worst one, but he said he was like 65. And then as we're talking more and more, he said he had his hip replaced 10 years ago at 65. Or I'm like, then you're 75. I mean,
so if you're gonna lie, you should at least keep track of the lie.
I know, you have to track your lies. So even friends of mine, male friends of mine, they're lying about their age now because they realize that there are not a whole lot of women they want to date. They'll want to date a man their age. So that's
sort of the problem with online dating, because you are looking at a resume, so to speak, right? And there's no nuance in there, because somebody who is 75 might come across very, very youthful spirit, right? Well, I've met people that are in their 50s that I wouldn't want to date because they act like old people.
Right.
And vice versa. I've met people that are in their 70s that, holy cow, I can barely keep up with them. And so, but you miss that when you put in the criteria in online dating, because there has to be some way to filter, right? There has to be some.
I mean, I have gotten advice from one of my male friends. He's like, really read the profiles, like parse them, like see the hints. Like if they put their political affiliation and you're a Democrat and they're, say, conservative, I mean, if that's a big deal for you, that's a big deal. So you have to really read them. Unfortunately, when things they say they like to do, everyone likes to do the same thing, sit on a beach, sit in front of a fire. I mean, it's just, there's so much generic information that it's just.
But who doesn't like those things, right? It's like, tell me.
I mean, I don't want to sit on a beach.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Oh, I do every now and again.
Yeah, well, but so I think it's very important. Men lie about their height. Here's what they lie about.
Okay.
Their height, sometimes by a couple of inches. I mean, literally a couple of inches. And they lie about they can lie about their body type, which I think maybe women also do. They could say they're in shape and they all have the beach ball, middle-aged men, they all have the classic beach ball stomach.
Yeah.
And I had one man, and this is not nice, but he was actually like and I don't know how you write that you're a paraspastic pelagic. I mean, it was just surprising that.
I don't even know what that is.
I'm looking for my date and I'm looking down the hallway and there's this man on a walker. And I don't know how you would put that in a profile, but it was surprising. I mean, he had other problems that had nothing to do with that walker. He was just an aging narcissist. So, and how he had an accident was completely narcissistic. So,
give us an example of a pleasant surprise, like something that you something great about the online dating world. Because now you're making me go, I'm never online dating, that's for sure.
No, but I mean, everyone is. Like, I don't think there's too many other ways to meet someone. Like I said, your friends, walking down the street, which doesn't happen so much anymore. But I think that it's gigantic. There's hundreds and hundreds of men, thousands probably. And now there's different dating sites. There's different dating sites. So, I mean, I've met a lot of very nice men. But here's the other thing. When you sit with these men now, even if they're nice, I look at them and the first thing I think, and I don't think it's just me, and maybe they look at me and think the same thing, is could I ever have sex with that man? Because look, let's face it, if you start dating that person, you're going to be having sex with them, because that's still part of the equation.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I mean, it just is.
Yeah.
So, regardless of how, everyone's still expecting a certain chemistry. I don't know what senior citizen chemistry really is, because I don't know.
Yeah.
But I sit there and I think, this is me, this is just me, could I ever have sex with this person? Could I? Because they're going to expect it. I mean, no one's not expecting it.
Right. But don't you think women expect sex as well? I mean, I don't think it's just men, right?
Yeah, women, that's what I'm saying. I would want to have sex with them. I
right.
mean,
so if you don't want to have sex with that person, you don't want to be dating that person because you want to have sex. Yeah, I get it.
Right. But that's one of the things when you meet these strangers, because they are all strangers. I mean, everyone you meet on a dating site is a stranger. So, that's one of the things that runs through my head, even though they're very nice and I had a nice time, but I could never foresee anything physical.
Right.
I
So
mean,
then you might as well just cut it off then, because if like it's not going in that direction.
right. So I will have to say that, now I'm older than when I first started. So my gene pool is shrinking, unless I want to go younger, which is another whole thought, because women my age, your age, any age, over 50 now, they're all looking at younger men. Not all, but many are. I mean, that's an option. I mean, that's a
Isn't that
possibility.
great? Because my whole life growing up, it was okay for men to be with a woman who was 20 years his junior, but it always like looked like you always felt like people looked at women funny or somehow judged them if they were with someone who was younger. I love the fact that that's possible now, that women can date somebody who's 20 years their junior. And, if you think it's weird, well, hopefully you think it's weird no matter whether it's the other way around, right? That you just don't think that age gap is a good choice. But I love the freedom that women now have to date younger if they want to.
No, I agree. And I just read Charlize Theron, her new husband's like 18 years younger. I mean, significantly younger.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have a friend who her husband is 20 years younger.
I know, isn't that great? I love it. I think that's a wonderful. I like that's happening. That there's that possibility now.
Yeah, and I think more and more women are doing it, and as you feel reinforced to do it. I think my only fear, and I've written about this, and I'm actually have an Instagram post about it, I think this week, is that what happens the day that they wake up, your younger guy, and look at you and wish that they were with someone younger. I mean, I'm secure on many levels, but I don't know how far my security goes, about what if they wish that they, now were with someone younger.
Right.
So, but I think that it's a good idea, because the other thing that you have to think about now, and we talked about this before we started this show, is that these men are, someone's going to get sick. Hopefully it's not you.
Right.
And do you want to take care of someone? I mean, what do you really want? Which I'm sort of questioning this for myself when you start dating. What do you want? Do you need, is it still financial security? Which I think women, and I think it's so great how many of them made a ton of money and were extremely successful.
Yeah.
Women find money as a bit of a security blanket. But the catch-22 now, and this is a big one, is that all the older men you meet, even if they're wealthy, their money's already accounted for. They have trust funds for their children. They have things that you will never, ever get a hold of.
Yeah, but that's okay, right? It's their prerogative to leave it to their children and their family. And
no, absolutely. But if part of your MO is like, I'd like to find financial security, or that, it's not, it might be immediate, but long-term, it's gonna, when they go, you're gone. I mean,
you're on your own. You're back where you started, right?
Yeah. Now you're 90 and you're just like, shit, I'm 90 and now I'm on my own. But so those are things to think about. I mean, that we never thought about before. I mean, that's a reality. Or do you want to take care of them? What happens after the first? Don't you see all these women walking down the street with men that are, they're in wheelchairs. You can tell they have recently had a stroke. And for those long-term marriages, I think that will happen. But when you start later, are you willing to put that, if that happens, are you willing to put in that time? Because it's more likely than when you married someone who was 30.
Right. Well, and also if you marry them when they're 30 and they end up sick at 70 or 80 and you've been there for the whole time, well, you got a lot of joy and a lot of vitality and a lot of memories and a lot of wonderful things that, of course you're going to stick it out because that person deserves it. But to show up late to the party and have, like a couple of years and then you turn into a nursemaid, I'll tell you one, no, thank you.
I mean, but isn't that something to think about? Like I now think about it because, right, it could happen to you. I mean, I could all of a sudden have a stroke and I would hope someone would take care of me, but maybe not. I mean, you can't be guaranteed that there would be reciprocity either, but So I don't know. I mean, I think it's important in dating at this time of life is think about what it is you really want. Do you want just something to entertain, short-term fun, a long-term relationship, someone with whom to share the rest of your life, into, the beyond. But yeah, there's a lot more to think about. Right. Your kids are grown.
Right.
Are you going to get along with your kids? I mean, there's so many more tangents to it.
Honestly, I lived alone for 10 years after I got divorced. And then I moved in with my boyfriend. And I forgot how to compromise at first because, for 10 years, if I put something somewhere, there it was when I went back, and I knew exactly, how much milk there was in the milk carton. And I knew because I was raising my child, but, there was no other adult interfering. And when I moved in with him, and he had to make a bunch of compromises too. And then my joke is when you compromise, it means nobody wins.
Or someone loses.
Everybody loses though. By definition, a compromise is no one wins.
Right. It's just lose. No, I agree. And that's a good point. I mean,
So are you willing to change your life? And do you want to change your life? So, I'm hearing a lot of things. I'm hearing like the best way to meet someone is through friends, or some sort of physical activity. I met my boyfriend in martial arts. We met because we both were enjoying a similar hobby or similar activity. So something like that. Also, I didn't hear you mention that, but if you get involved in your community where you can't be using your phone, or you have a hobby where you can't be using your phone, that's also another place where you might be able to meet someone who has similar interest.
That's an excellent point. That really, and people say that to me, get involved. And they say that even to my male friends. Do something like do something activity where you can meet other people that are doing the same activity.
Right. Because then you at least you're guaranteed that you have that in common. But yeah, there's a lot to think about. There's the financial picture. There's the adult kids family integration picture. There's do I want to take care of someone who could potentially be very feeble very quickly? Do I want to change the way I live? So right. All of these things, you have to weigh them. Ooh, and do I want to have sex with that person?
I know, I was going to remind you of the sex. Because
you could tell I blocked it out. It was like, ew.
I know. I think men.
Here's the bad part is that there aren't a lot of men my age that I want to have sex with. Is that terrible?
No, it's true.
I know. Isn't that terrible though? Because they're probably thinking the same thing.
I don't know I think that men, I don't know. I'm having a certain personal issue with this myself right now, but I think they never outgrow that. I mean, they slow down. And I will tell you the other thing that kind of gets in that craw, that men, big pharma is implicit in helping these men now.
Right.
That any man, no matter how old they are, they can still, if they have the wherewithal and a doctor who will write the prescription,
sure.
They never have to think about whether or not they can have sex. So, which I think is so unfair because nature, there was a balance. Women went through menopause, men went through, got less and less able to have erections. And now it's completely out of whack.
Yes.
It's on like Mother Nature put it on tilt. I mean, men get what I call them blue M&Ms, and women, they can have hormone replacement therapy, but there's so many questions around that, right. That it changes the balance between men and women. Like they're not aging in sync. They're aging out of whack.
That's a really good point, right? I mean, I hadn't even thought about that, but you're absolutely right. But big pharma always creates, don't even get me started because that's a whole other conversation about how we are yet ignored also by big pharma, right? But that's a whole other topic for another day, I think.
Right.
So Gail, once again, Gail is an author. She has been published in the New York Times. She does have a new book. You want to flash your book? Where can they if someone wants to get your book, Gail? Well, we should put this on the Kuel Shop.
Yeah.
my friend, because the shop, I have a curated shopping experience where I literally go out and curate products that are made by women entrepreneurs like yourself, and I bring them together into a shopping experience so we can go out there and buy from women and empower small businesses. So
Yay.
let's get your book on the shop. So ladies, you can buy her book on the Cool Shop. We're going to get it on there.
And ladies, women, you don't need your reading glasses to read it. I made sure of that. I know the print is big enough, and it's just short stories. So you could pick this book up on page 89, and you didn't have to read 1 through 88. It's just fun stories about dating, about losing everything, not knowing your passwords, about, you know, never wanting to get out of your bathrobe. I mean, all the things that kind of come into
it completely belongs in Cool Life and on the Cool Shop for sure. And I will put the URL in the description so that you can go ahead and purchase the book once you hear about how funny Gail is, because she's pretty funny.
Very funny. I started doing stand-up recently, so I'm moving in a little bit into stand-up comedy, having just 24 weeks at Second City in Chicago this summer, which has been great. So
well, next time I'm in Chicago, you're gonna have to let me know if you're playing somewhere, because I'd love to see you.
Yeah, that would be fun. But this was fun. I mean, this is great. I hope I did not depress too many women, because you also have to laugh. I come home and I write about these dates, because where at the time you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how I just spent the evening. But when you tell the story to someone else, it becomes a funny story. It's another one of your funny stories.
Yep. It's all part of life. And, you know, date, don't date, get involved long-term, don't get involved long-term. You can kind of do it however you want, and you can date and stop dating if it's upsetting or you need to take a break. It's not like you have to make a concrete decision and you don't get to redecide. So, you know, all we did was point out some kind of obvious things that I think probably everyone has thought about. Anybody who's thinking about dating they've had to have stumbled across these points because they're really relevant to us at this stage of our life. You know, all right, Gail, it was so much fun talking to you. So we will have to do this again sometime and pick some other fun topic.
I know, pick a topic, spin the wheel of topics. Okay, well,
thank you. So many of them in midlife, don't we?
I know, aren't they? They never end. I agree.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I will get you my book on your site. Perfect.
Yeah, we'll do that. All right. Talk to you soon, Gail. Bye.
Bye.